So, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to show you guys how to make this dress. So we're starting with the top. So you see here I went ahead and drafted a princess dart. So I already have a video on how to do this because I noticed most of my video are getting too long. So I wanted to just draft the princess dart behind the scene and show you guys. But basically you just have to, I'm also going to link a video for anybody that doesn't know how to draft a princess dart. So then as you can see here, I have my seam allowance at the top here, and I also have my seam allowance at the bottom part here, right? The half an inch here and also half an inch at the shoulder here, 3 inch of neck, 3 inch. All I have to do, if you look at the top that we are making, you will notice that the V goes down to the bottom part here, right? Her own goes all the way down to this point here, but I'm thinking if I should bring mine down because she's not busty, so she can get away with this. But I'm thinking if I should make mine to come down all the way to this point, if I should not do that. But for the sake of the tutorial, because I'm showing you guys how to do it, I think I will just do exactly what she has on, though I would rather have mine come up here. So let's go ahead. So what you're going to do here, so once you mark your 3 inch for the neckline, you're going to go ahead, and the reason why we're doing this here is because you will need a straight dart here might work for somebody that doesn't have a lot of boob, right? Maybe like 36 or so. But if you're from 40 and above, I think you might want to have a cup for the bust, right? So it will give you more grip than just normal bust dart. This is my shoulder to my chest line, which is my armhole line, shoulder to my under bust line, and then my shoulder to my waist, right? So on this under bust line is where I might go in with just half an inch at this center part here. And then with that half an inch here, I'm just going to connect it directly to this point here, right, from the chest here, just like that, and then just narrow it down to the end, to the point here. So just like this. So guys, the whole thing here is like I'm trying to determine how much space I want to have in between mine, right? So like for you now, if you're okay with this, you can go ahead and start to cut. But I'm thinking, because this is just one side of the top, and already on my chest line here I have about 0.2, so that means I'm going to have up to 2.2 because this is one side, right? And then if I cut this now and then plus the other side with that 1.2, that is going to be approximately 2.2 opening. And I just placed it on my chest, and that means the line at this upper line of my chest is going to be 2.2. I think it's too open for me. So I think I'm just going to go in here with maybe 0.75, right? Or just 1 inch on the dot on this my chest line. And then in between this line to this line, somewhere halfway through these two lines here, that is, so for me it's 5. So at this point here I can do, so I did 1 inch on this line. On this second line I can do 0.75, and then like I said, half an inch is on this other line. So now I can go ahead and connect the 3 together. So 1 inch on the chest line, 0.75 on this middle one, 0.5 on the last, on this, on my under bust line. Connect the 3 of them together just like this, right? And then blend it into this lower line. This lower line, I'm connecting it to the end of the clothes at this point here. I'm connecting it to the end of the pepper. You understand? So now once I've done it this way, I'm going to just take this point here on my chest line and then blend it back into the neckline. You understand? Blend it back into the neckline. So it still forms that V. It's just that I brought it in a little bit more in now. So like I said, 1 inch on this line. I did 0.75 on in between here, and then I did half an inch on this line here, and then just at the point of the end of the pepper on this one here. So now all I have to do is just to go ahead and cut. So I'm going to cut this out now, and I'm going to keep this. I'm not going to lose it. So guys, we're going to go ahead and trace this out now. So I'm going to trace this out two panels of this, two of this, and this center one will be on a fold. And now let me show you guys what I'm going to be cutting on the fold. So basically, like I said, this is the first line I'm going to have here, which is the one from the chest line. So each one I'm going to rule it several times so you guys will see. So this is the first line here, like I said. So this is going to be my first line. You can measure out where you want your first line to be. So you can take it up maybe above, like somewhere here, right? And then make the second one somewhere in between here, and then the third one can be here. Or you can even make yours 4 lines instead of just 3. So I'm going to figure out where I want mine to be. So guys, I've cut this in the seam allowance. So I cut it on lining, and then I also cut it on the fabric too. So I have 2 pieces of this here, and then also 2 pieces of it on the lining. And then if you look here, you also see that I have this one here. I also have it on the lining too. And then for this one, when I traced out my fabric, I added my seam allowance for the side seam, which is going to help me to join it even by the center. But if you want, when you're cutting yours, you can just use you can add your seam allowance here, and then just add seam allowance for the side alone. But since I traced it on the paper, I just added all my seam allowances to the side, except the seam allowance I'm going to use to join this center piece together. So if you see, I still have to put this together. So what I did here was just to go ahead and pin this down in the meantime. So I'm going to trim off like half an inch here, like following this this line here. I'm going to mark half an inch here because this is going to be joined to the center. So I still need to pin this down well. You see, I pin it on all the points where I would want it to be, making sure that it's on a fold. So everything I pinned by this center here, it's folded like this. So this is what I made something like this, and then folded it into 2 at each point, because this is the center, so that when I go to sew it, half of it is going into this side, half of it is going into this side. So you still have to have like half an inch of seam allowance at the end of this part here. So I'm going to first go ahead and join each part together with the lining. So I'm going to join the lining to the lining, the fabric to the fabric, and then get it ready so that I can come back in and put this one by the center. So guys, this is what I have at the moment. You see, I went ahead and marked where each one is supposed to be, 1, 2, 3 points here, using this here. Remember, one is on my underbust, one is in between my underbust and my chest line, and one is above my chest line. So that's the 3 lines I have here. So now what I did here is to take my pepper. You see the way this is, I pinned it down to make sure it won't move, right? And then I took my straight ruler, angled it the same way. You know how this angle of this thing is. This neckline is a V neckline, which is, if this is a straight line, and then the V neckline is coming this way, right? Which is actually this one here. When I went to add the half an inch of this here, I added it this way again, in form of an angle, following that same line, right? So that is what I did here. So my seam allowance on this here, how I added it was just to angle my ruler again, in following this same line that is diagonal like this, and then I marked half an inch on this paper, on this piece here. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut off all the excess here, following that same angle, right? And then I'm going to then take it to my fabric. I'm not going to remove everything once. I'm going to put it in as I'm going. So I'm just going to start from one side here. So take the first one. Maybe if I'm starting my seam from this upper layer here, then I'm going to go ahead and take away the first layer. And then as I'm sewing and coming down, you see it's looking like this. The angle is facing down like this. So as I'm sewing, coming down with half an inch here, I'm going to go ahead and put this inside like this, sew it down. So you're going to put it inside of it this way, and then sew it down using the half an inch. Come down here, do the same on this other side. You're going to put it inside of it. I don't want to bring it out so I won't make a mistake. So just like the way you put this one here, you're going to put it inside. Once this is done, you're going to turn it over, iron it, and then we're going to do the other side. Once you have this side done, the next thing we're going to do is to get the other side done. So you see, this is my fabric. The right side is facing me, the wrong side is facing the table. What I'm going to do is just turn this one over like this, in between like this, place it on the same line that you marked. I know you guys can see this is my first line, this is my second line, this is the third line. I'm going to place it on top of each one like this. You see, make sure everything is equal. Pull it up to the top, to the shoulder, and then I'm going to use my lining the same way, the wrong side of my lining. So the wrong side of my fabric is facing the table, the wrong side of my lining is facing me. In between the two of them is where I will now sew this here using 1/2 inch. Don't mind that it's poking out more, but I'm going to make sure that it's just 1/2 inch of it that I'm using to sew it all the way to the end. So guys, this is what we have at the moment. So now we are going to go and trace the back panel. So guys, this is the back panel. So the width, the length I have here, first of all, is my shoulder to waist plus 1 inch, and I went ahead and marked 1/2 inch at the top here, 1/2 inch at the bottom here, and then I also went ahead and marked about 1.5 here for my zipper allowance at the center back. Remember, this is the back we are tracing, and then from that line, this line here that I marked for the center back for my zipper, the extra that I have is basically my bust divided by 4 plus 1.5. So in total, my bust plus about 3 inches is what I have here as the width on a fold, right? 1.5 for my zipper. This is folded into 2. 1.5 for my zipper allowance, which comes in here. That's my bust plus my bust divided by 4, 10.5 plus 1.5, 12, and then extra 1.5 here for the zipper. The shoulder to waist, which is 17.5 for me, plus extra 1 inch, which is 18.5, 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here. So that means I have 17.5 in total by the center here. So all I have to do is to go ahead and draft a basic pattern, a basic back panel. So shoulder divided by 2, which is 8, exactly what I used before in front. Mark it, and then I'm going to come down here 1 inch of shoulder slope. Mark that. My armhole length, which you can add by, you can get that by dividing your bust by 6 inches and adding 1.5. Where whatever you get is going to be the length here. So I've connected mine all the way to the top here. I'm going to go ahead and give it a curve like this. Mark my bust divided by 4 plus 1.5. My waist divided by 4 plus 2.5. 1 inch of darting and 1.5 of seam allowance. Now all I have to do is just to go ahead and connect this line here to this point here. My dart at the back is going to be my nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus 1.5, sorry, plus 1/2 inch. I'm going to rule this line all the way to the chest line, because that's where my dart is going up to, all the way to the chest line like this. And then I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on this side, 1/2 inch on this other side. So this is just a basic back panel. That's what we're going to be working with here. It goes all the way to the chest line, which is this armhole line. And then for the neckline, you're just going to go ahead and mark 3 inch for the neck width, which is exactly what we used in front again. Connect the shoulder slope, which was at this, after this 1 inch that you marked here, connect that shoulder slope all the way to that point of 3 inches. And then add your 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Once that is done, we're going to go ahead and then mark our neck depth, which is 1 inch. 1 inch, that is 1 inch from this top part here, 1 inch down. So that is going to be the depth of the neck. And then another thing I like to do is going down here at this point here, and then I'm going to come up by 1 inch. This will help my zip not to bulk up. So come up here by 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect it to the end here, the side seam here, just like that. And once it's done, I'm also going to add my 1/2 inch of sewing allowance too. So that is it. So all I have to do is just to go ahead and cut this out, cut out the armhole, cut the top part here and my neckline, split open the back. So guys, once it's done, you cut off the 1 inch that you added at the bottom part here, and that is it. So this is our basic back panel here. So all I have to do is just to take it. If you want, you can trace this one also on a lining, but I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to go ahead and use bias to run the neckline on each side. There are 2 of them here, 1 on each side, and then I'm also going to go ahead and pick my darts like here, and then also pick the second one here, right? 2 darts at the center back like this, and then I'm going to use bias to just run this neckline just from this point here of this neck here all the way to this part here, just to the shoulder. It's not going into the shoulder slope, just from here and stop here. You see, just that part here is where I'm going to use bias. So guys, this is what I'm working with right now. So you see, I've gone ahead, use bias to turn up the neck. You see just the part I turned, just this part. So now let me show you guys, I've done this side. So let me show you how I'm doing it, because I'm not joining it with lining. If I was joining it with lining, it would have been easier. All I have to do is just join the lining part of the back to the lining part of the front, this part, the body of the cloth to the body of the back panel, you understand? But I'm not doing that. So this is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to just go ahead and put this shoulder in between here. So this is the one that I've used bias to finish. I'm going to take it now, join it to the body of the front panel, right? The akara to the akara. And then I'm going to wrap it around with the lining. You understand? So this, my back panel is in between my akara and this one. Sew it down together, and then I'm going to bring it over. So guys, for the sleeve, I'm just going to put a long, elbow length sleeve there. But I already have a video on how to make an exaggerated puffy sleeve. So if I was making this an exaggerated puffy sleeve, I would have added more to the length, maybe two more inches to the top part here, and then to the width I can add extra like 3 inches or 4 inches, right? And then I'm going to just so let's say this is an exaggerated puffy sleeve. I'm going to show you guys. So let's say you added extra 2 inches at the top to the normal length you want your sleeve to be, and then also like 2 inches for making the casing of the elastic, you understand? So let's say your sleeve is going to be 10 inches when you're done. You're going to add 2 inches to the top for the exaggerated puffy sleeve, extra 2 inches or 3 inches, because when you're making puffy sleeve you have to add to the length extra room, right? You can't use just the same length you want, so you can do 3 inches extra for the casing, and then for the extra you need added to the length, you can just go ahead and mark the 2 inches line here. Let's say this is the 2 inches line here, and then you're going to come down 4 inches for your normal basic cap height. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and mark, or from this point here of these 4 inches, connect it to the end of the sleeve. That's plus the exaggerated parts that you added, let's say, plus the extra 3 inches here. Let's say this is the extra 3 inches from the end of your sleeve. So you're going to connect everything this way to this point, right? And then you're going to find halfway through this sleeve, give it a curve above like this, and then give it a curve below on this same line, right? But this line above now, you're going to mark it into this 2 inches mark at the top, and that is your sleeve. All you have to do is just to cut this part now all the way into this part, and then you have your normal sleeve. The bottom part, fold it like this with 1 inch like this, pass your elastic through it, and come out to the other side for your casing. And then every other thing at the top part here, just gather it at the top part of your sleeve. So I'm going to now turn it around the other side so that I can show you what I'm going to do for my own sleeve. So for my own sleeve, my fabric width doesn't go enough for the exaggerated one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a little puff at the top, and then still maintain the length and the width. So I can just go ahead and mark just 1 inch at the top here for the small puff that I want to add to it. Come down here by 4 inches, and then I'm going to rule a line from this point here to this point, halfway through it, give it a curve below like this, and then add this 1 inch part here to this here, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead now, leave everything else the same, you understand? I'm going to leave this the same, straight like this, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut off this part here. So guys, this is it here. I'm going to go ahead, take one of it, join it to this side, join the other one. So I have 2 here. So I'm going to take the 2, 1 for each side, like this, join it to each side of the sleeve here, and then I'm going to close up my sleeve, and then close the side. So this is going to fit into my armhole like this. Sew it into the armhole, and then make a stitch, close up the side of my clothes, and then we'll come back and deal with the bottom part. So guys, this is what I'm working with right now, you see. So the bottom part of this is the upper part is done. So all we have to do now is the bottom part. So you can add anything you want to this. You can even add a pencil skirt to this, and then just go to the back and add your zipper. So but for the sake of the video, the one she has is like a tiered dress. So it depends on you the length you want your dress to be. So let's say I want the dress to be 37, and let's say my shoulder to waist is 17. That means I'm going to be left with 20 inches, right, for the bottom flare. right? So this 20 inches now, what I'm going to do is, it depends on you how you want to divide it. You can do 10 inch for the first layer, 10 inch for the second layer. You can do 9, and then you can do 11. It depends on you. So let's say I decided to do 10 for the first layer, 10 for the second layer. What you're going to do is, like the length is what we are calculating now. So we are calculating the length first. So for the length, let's say we decided to do 10 for the length. So to this first layer, you're going to add 1 inch to it. This is going to be half an inch to join the upper part of this here to this lower part of the top, and then half an inch here to join the lower one to this, half an inch for the bottom part, half an inch for this part here, so that when you're done, you'll be left with that 10 inches still, right? And then to this second layer now, you're going to add 3 inches here. So if you look at this last layer now, you will notice that it's supposed to be pleated on top, not like how we normally join our clothes. This is going to be gathered on top of this like this. Hit 3 inches instead. So you're going to use 1 inch to fold the end here, 1 inch to fold the end here, 1 inch to fold the top here. Is remaining 1 inch, right? This is for the last layer. So that extra 1 inch is going to be to place it on top of this one. So you're going to bring it up at least like half an inch of where you're supposed to join it. So I'm going to rule half an inch at the bottom here, right? But I'm going to bring this up at least like 1 inch mark here, and then gather it on top. So that's how we used up the 3 inches I just talked about to add to the lower layer. Let me say it again. To this center layer, you're going to add 1 inch to whatever length you're working with. Half an inch here, half an inch here. The half an inch at the upper part is to join this to the dress. The half an inch at the lower part is for us to be able to pleat this one on top of this one. And then the last layer, you're going to add 3 inches to it. 1 inch to fold the end here to hem it. 1 inch to hem the lower part. And then the other extra 1 inch is just going to be so that you can bring this up at least 1 inch on top of this girder here. So on this girder now, let's say this is the 1 inch mark here, that extra 1 inch that we just spoke about, half of it at the center of it is where your seam is going to be, which is the center of it is going to meet half of this inch that we marked here, if that makes sense. So the pleat is going to be just half inch of this 1 inch is going to be at the top, and then half of it is just going to be at this point. You understand? So what I'm trying to say is, let's say this is that 1 inch that the extra 1 inch we just spoke about. It's almost as if you're dividing it into two. The center line is where you're going to be making the pleat. You understand? So now to calculate the width we are working with now, this is for the length. To calculate the width, first thing you're going to need is your waist measurement. Your waist measurement times, it depends on you how much fabric you're working with. If you have enough fabric, let's say your waist is 30 times 2.5, right? Use times 2.5 for the first layer, and then whatever you get, I'm not sure what you're going to get, but let's say you get 70. I'm not sure, but let's say you get 70 or 75, right? I'm not sure. Whatever you get, let's say 75. That is going to be that 75. Now you're going to use it to multiply again to get what you're going to use for the second layer. So this 75 is going to be the width of my whole first layer of my fabric. So from this point here now, I'm going to measure out width of 75, and then length of 10 plus 1 inch, that's 11. And then to this second one now, what I'm going to do is, again, that 75 I got initially, this one here was my waist measurement. I started with my waist measurements, right? Multiplied it by 2.5 and got this, because it's my waist. My waist is where I'm going to be attaching this first flay. That's why we're using it as the measurement that we're working with, because it's your waist that is the lower part of your dress, right? It's your waist that you're going to be attaching this to. So that's why we multiplied it by 2.5 to get this. Now, the bottom part of this 7.5 is what we're going to be attaching the lower layer to. So that's why we're going to be working with the 75 this time around instead of the waist. So now this 75, you're going to multiply by again 2.5, right? So whatever you get is now going to be the width of this second layer, which means this second layer is going to be a lot longer. You see, it's longer than this other one, like I mean by the width. So let me go ahead now and pleat this on top of this, and then join this one to this one, and then put in my zip. So guys, this is what we have right now. You see, I've joined it. So like I said, you're going to top stitch it like this on top here. You see, like half an inch of it is what is placed above here. The other half an inch is sewed just on the line of the body of this upper one. So that's basically it. When you come to join it at the waist, you're going to just relax your fabric, the bodice, wherever it falls, and then join it to the body here. Don't try to move it together to be at the same, like these two ends here, don't try to make it to be at the same point, because then you might make this part to be poking out. So just place your fabric and relax it, because remember, the fact that you took away half an inch on this side to fold it away and half an inch on this side to fold it away is already going to make you definitely have space in between here, you understand? So if you want to avoid this, when you're cutting yours, you can stop somewhere here, right? That way yours doesn't go up to the waist. But if you look at her own, you see that it goes down to the waist. So that's basically what it looks like. So all I have to do is just my seam here, I can go back in and top stitch it, so that this my seam allowance of the waist is not facing this direction. You see, this seam allowance here will be. So this is the back here with the zipper here, and that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Guys, please like, share, subscribe. Bye.